Now you know. This is a show we bring to the community on information about anything you want to know about. We are currently in Greenburg. Now we just got in White Plains. Is it all right to say that? No. So yeah, we bring you shows on different topics. You can contact us on YouTube as well. Now you know. If you know of something that you want to talk about, we're here to talk about it.
Yep.
I'm Cedric Smith, team leader.
Yep. I'm Connor Henry, and shout out to Giovanna Simmons. Shout out to Shari
Davis.
Who else we shout out?
Bernard Torres.
And Bernard Torres, yeah. Welcome to the team, man.
Yep. So today we have a great guest, Paul, who's an attorney, and he's going to tell us. Paul, tell us who you are. What do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Paul Torres. First thing first, I'm a husband, father, man of God, and I appreciate Cedric for having me here on this platform to be able to talk about real estate, talk about the importance in my role as an attorney.
Nice. So Paul, man. So let's just get right into it, man.
Let's do it.
So when it comes to a home buying and for home buyers as well, people are not really knowledgeable about the steps need to be taken. So one of the aspects when the home buying process is you have the inspector, you have all the the mortgage lender, and stuff like that, but then you have the attorneys, which Paul's here to break it down for us, right?
Right.
So start with the first question now. Okay, what cost should I expect beyond the purchase of a sale price?
So when you're purchasing a home, there's going to be a few different categories of costs you can expect. Right, the first thing outside the purchase price is going to be the home inspection. Mm-hmm. Right, that's really going to be your first initial cost, and that's going to be done prior to getting into contract. Right, actually, once we go into contract, you're going to have your closing costs, which is really a combination of your bank fees, right, which is going to start with your appraisal. Right, is your bank charging you any sort of origination points, and also the bank has to build up your escrow account. Right, a lot of people don't realize your monthly payment consists of three different things. It's going to be your principal and interest, your escrow for your taxes, and your escrow for your homeowner's insurance. All those things will be combined and be part of your closing costs. And then aside from that, we also have your title expenses. Right, when you're buying a property, title is very important, especially in New York State where there tends to be a lot of title issues. So you want to get title insurance. Right, we also want to have the title company run searches on the property to let us know if there's any liens, judgments, violations, anything we should know about. The rule of thumb is to say 4 to 6% is your estimated closing cost, which is going to be the combination of the bank fees and the title expenses as well.
Okay, that's good to ask about title. Most people don't know the whole process of title, what it is, what it really is. So the title comes from the on the house. What is it like?
Yeah, so title is extremely important, and it's something that we pay a lot of attention to. So there's title companies, right? There are hundreds of them out there. Every attorney is going to have the main companies that they work with, and that title company is to go out there and give us a report. It's essentially a history of the house. Okay. I want to know everything about this property. I want to know the chain of title. I want to know when our sellers bought the property. I want to know what mortgages are open against the property. I want to know the taxes. I want to know has this property been deemed to be a legal dwelling through a certificate of occupancy with the county.
Okay.
Right? We even find out about the water bill.
Okay.
Right? And people ask, why do you check the water bill? Well, water unpaid can actually become a lien against the property. So it's very important that we check that and make sure that it's paid down to zero on the day of closing. And with the title company actually insures the transaction. Now, why is that important? They're ensuring that the rightful sellers at the closing table are the ones who own the property, and they're selling it to us by signing the deed.
Okay.
And they also ensure that there's no liens against the property, especially tax warrants.
Okay.
Right? That becomes critical on the flip side if you end up wanting to sell the property. So when you buy a property and you get title insurance, you can prove that you bought it free and clear.
Okay.
Right? Which makes your process a lot smoother on the sale side.
Okay, good. That's good. It's good to know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So all titles company are all the same, or they tried and or there's some better than other?
There's different levels, just like with anything, right? You're going to have the company that's been around forever, right? And then you have the startup companies. Every attorney is going to really have their own little team, right? That's how I like to see it. Their title company that they've worked with for years and that they know and trust, and they could just really rely on them, right? Because there's a lot of things that the title company is going to see and have access to that us as attorneys, we don't.
Okay.
Right? So we really rely on them to provide us this information so we can dissect it and, most importantly, explain it to our clients.
So just to say that it's important when you have a team person, if you have attorney that you normally use, because when they use that title company, now versus you picking any attorney, And you don't know what title company, what the relationship is, or whatever it is. When you pick one of our attorneys, which we highly recommend Paul as one of our attorneys.
Yes.
If you
Thank
pick one of our attorneys,
yeah.
we know from experience from the deals that
Yes.
we've done that he can call his title person 2:00 on Saturday and get an answer if we need it. If we have a closing on Monday morning at 9, we can do that. And then it's important that you just don't say, "Oh, my union have a insurance person," and they don't do. They do divorces, whatever.
We run into those scenarios a lot where, people, I get it. This is the biggest expense, and you want to try to possibly save wherever you could. And you may have that union attorney that's, doing the job, quote unquote, for free. But you got to understand, you want someone experienced. You want someone who knows real estate. Right? I'm a New York State attorney. I practice in real estate. I'm not going to go into criminal court and try to defend the murderer. I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense. I'm going to defer that.
All right, you got to cut that out. You're not going to defend you. Come on, man. You asked that. You got to keep that to yourself. All right.
I'm going to refer that to someone else.
He got to
So,
find his own attorney. Yeah.
so you want to work with someone in that space, someone who has experience in that space. And what's special about our firm is that we only deal with transactional real estate.
Yes.
Right. We're not doing the landlord tenant side where we focus on one thing, which is buying and selling real estate, which could be vacant land, co-op, condo, residential, commercial, anything in between that we handle.
Yeah.
I heard stories like the fraudulent activities where like people actually, when they actually do the title search, like, the house wasn't really in their name. Does stuff like that come up all the time?
Yeah, we've seen scenarios where they do a title search and there's a break in the chain of title.
Wow.
Right, or someone who thought they owned the property together was deeded off, and they don't know how that happened. So, and some of those things can lead to delays. Now, that's why title is critical. It's very important. We order it right away. Right, once we get into contract, it's the first thing we order because we want to have that window just in case something comes up where we can attack it and still stay within the time frame of the contract to make sure we're closing on time.
Yeah, I want to ask you about contingency. Before that, I asked you about that. I do want to make this statement and say something about this. And I heard this is a horrible story where attorneys, you have closing costs, you have a closing coming up, and AI is faking, it's not a real attorney office, and asking for the buyer to send their money, the closing check beforehand. And they send in a check like $140,000, $200,000, and it's going somewhere in China. It looks like your attorney. It looks exactly like your attorney, and it gets like one little thing is wrong. So we as agents are warning our clients and to call your attorney before you send you send any money to them.
Absolutely.
And to call your attorney and make sure that they ask for it.
Yeah.
Because that's been huge.
And you know what that comes back to, Cedric? It's all about communication. We value communication. When we start a deal, we set up a group chat right away. Myself, the realtor, the client, loan officer. That way, we're all in line. So if something a little weird comes up, everyone would know, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Is that Paul or is that a scam? What's going on? Communication is everything. We always want to verify information because it's just everywhere. And with technology, it's only going to become more and more worse. So we got to be on top of things.
Could you imagine what happens? The seller doesn't get paid. The closing is paid. The buyer's out of that.
Everybody's getting sued.
Everyone's exactly.
You're exactly that's right. That's exactly what they said it happened. The seller, the attorney's getting sued because everybody, the agent getting sued. Everybody's getting sued. It's a mess.
It's crazy.
All right, let's talk about contingency. What contingencies should what's in the contract and what's contingencies?
Yeah, so as a buyer, the first contingency you want to have is the home inspection, right? Home inspection is very critical, and I always try to simplify it this way. Let's say you're going to a used car lot, right, and you're going to buy a used car. Will you ever just buy that car without doing a test drive first? Right? Don't you want to make sure the car actually starts, right? Make sure there's no check engine light. That's what your home inspection is. It tells you what's going on with the property. Even for newly renovated property, I still say do the home inspection for the peace of mind so you know exactly what's going on.
It's money well spent.
It's money well spent. It's money well spent, and it's not too time consuming. Most of these inspectors out there, they're great. Some of them come out same day notice. So it's not too time consuming. It's not going to delay anything. Get the inspection done. Extremely important. Second contingency is going to be the mortgage contingency, right? Especially if you're getting financing. You want to have language in the contract that protects you if for whatever reason you're unable to secure the mortgage. So specifically, we will have a certain time frame in the contract, usually anywhere between 30 to 45 days, that says the buyer has this window to get their loan approved. And if for whatever reason the loan can't get approved other than fraudulent activity, then the buyer is able to either cancel the contract or request an extension. Right? So you always want to have the mortgage contingency in place. The third one, which is probably the most popular and what people hear a lot, appraisal contingency. Right? For instance, let's say you're buying a property for $500,000. The bank does an appraisal and it comes back at $450,000. right, what happens, right? Everyone kind of just looks at each other and says, what's next? If you have the appraisal contingency in place as a purchaser, you are not obligated to buy it at $500,000 if it appraises for $450,000. Right, you get to actually renegotiate a new sales price. Now, it works both ways. We can never force the seller to lower their sales price, but if we have that contingency in place, they can buy us to what's called make up the gap, make up the difference, which is out of pocket. Right, that's the caveat to that, because the bank will only lend you based on the appraised value. So they'll give you the money to buy a property at $450,000, but if you don't have the appraisal contingency in there, that $50,000 is coming out of pocket. And if you don't have it, you could be in a very bad situation.
So let's focus on the for the seller side now, the contingencies that are required.
So on the seller side, the main thing is going to be time.
Okay.
Right? You want to give the buyer a specific time frame to purchase your home. Right now, it could be on a scenario where you need more time. Right? You could have a property in Florida that's being built from ground up, and you may need 4 months to be able to sell the property. On average, we're looking at about a 45 to 60-day window. So as a seller, you may need more time. Right, so that's going to be one of your things, your time frame. The second one is depending on what type of loan the buyer is taking, if they're doing FHA or VA, as a seller, you may not want to do certain repairs. Right, and the reason why I bring this up because certain these type of loan programs, they're strict as to the condition of the property, peeling paint, no handrails going down the basement there, things like that, and the lender will require certain repairs to be done in order to clear the loan. Now, as a seller, you may say, okay, maybe I'll spend up to $1,000. Anything over that, we'll split the cost with the buyer. Something to that effect, to where you don't have too much exposure as a seller. Right? At the end of the day, you're selling the property. You don't want to be spending the money when it's time to sell the property.
Would that be in the contract?
We would put that in the contract.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, everything we're saying is going to be in black and white.
Okay.
We don't leave anything for verbal communication, all in black and white. So we'll absolutely put that in the contract as well, definitely. And then also for a seller, we may need what's called a post-possession. Right, we have a lot of times where as a seller, let's say, you've lived there for 25 years. You're selling the property and you can only move so much stuff out of the property prior to closing. Right? And you may need access to the funds in order to get the big moving company in to move out all the big stuff.
Right.
So you may want to negotiate, say, you know what, after the closing, I need up to 5 days to stay within the property. I will cover the per-day cost of your loan and the per-day cost of your taxes, and we'll hold some money back in escrow to ensure that I actually move out of the property. So that can be another big contingency. And we see that a lot, especially with our older clients, right, where it's just physically tough to kind of move all these things out prior to closing, so they'll request that a lot.
Oh, wow. I never heard that.
Me neither. It's news to me.
Yeah,
news to me.
absolutely, yeah.
So what's like from time they get in contract to closing, what's the realistic time frame the buyer could expect?
So regular residential properties, we say 45 to 60 days, about a 2-month window from when the seller signs the contract, that's we're officially in contract, to closing. Co-ops are a little longer because we're dealing with the board and getting that approval.
Good old board.
Good old board, right? So for co-ops, I say 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
60 to
So
90
what
days.
happens if somebody don't meet that requirement? Like say,
Yeah, so and back to that contingency as a seller, right? That time frame you want the buyer to meet. So let's say we have a contract. The correct language that you'll always see is 45 days on or about.
Yeah.
On or about is huge. It may look like a simple term, but it's very important in real estate. That on or about really means that each side can use an additional 30 days past the contract date without default. Right? So we can really push it to 75 days. Now, when we get to that 75th day, then we're going to start feeling some pressure, right? At that point, the sellers can go and send us what's called a time of the essence letter, which gives us a very strict deadline to close on a specific date, usually anywhere between another 21 to 30 days.
Okay.
And if for whatever reason we're unable to meet that deadline, then we could officially be put in default of the contract.
Okay. Now for the buyer, I understand that can affect that down payment. What the seller is there any penalty to them?
So with the seller, if the buyer doesn't meet the time frame and we get all the way to the end and we put them officially in default, then we can go after the buyer's down payment as what's called liquidated damages. Right now, that is a process, right? It's not something automatically. We try to work it out outside of court, right, between the attorneys, and it's between everyone if we can come to an agreement. If not, it is something that can be litigated on because you are entitled to that as a seller, as a buyer defaulting in a contract.
Okay. One of the questions is what happens if after the close things come up? Is there anything they could do?
So I like that question because it's a tough scenario, and I'll give you guys a couple examples on things that we've seen happen. So as we know, recently the laws changed to where sellers have to fill out a form, Right? It's called a property condition disclosure. So every seller across New York State has to fill out a form. It's basically a survey of the property, right? It discloses certain defects that you know about or you don't know about, and it's required to be given by law. Prior to this new law, you didn't have to fill out this form. You can give the buyer a $500 credit and tell them they're taking the property as is, and that was that. And that's how real estate always been, but it just recently changed. So with this form, it's going to ask a question that says, do you know any known material defects about the plumbing, right? And let's say, for instance, you put no. We have a closing, everything goes smooth. A couple weeks down the line, there's a major issue with plumbing, right? Something that just couldn't happen after 2 weeks of closing on the property. Yeah. It's something that was there before. Yeah. So that form will now open up litigation, right? That's something you can go back to as a buyer and say, look, you told me X, Y, and Z, and look what's happening now. Yeah. Right, so that can open up a lot of litigation, and it most likely is. And I think what happened, and the reason why the form came out, because there were a lot of things happening post closing to where buyers didn't have much protection on. Yeah, so with that form in place, it kind of balances off the playing field. That's what I think.
Is there like a specific timeline, like the property disclosure form is signed, right? Deals closed. How far far along until they can go back and be like, can we revisit this, and can it be legalization, or can something be done to correct the issue? Or
well, I don't think there's too much statute of limitations as to how far back you can go, and plus a lot of these things you're going to see right away. Yeah. Right? Another example, we had a client that bought a property. Right, we had the property conditions for it. They checked off everything. No. 2 days after the closing, the entire basement wall all mold coming through the paint. And so we're going back. I'm talking with the broker. I'm like, did you notice anything? Tell me something about this project. There must have been something. There's no way this mold is just coming out now. Right. And he's like, you know what? Now that I think about it, every time I went to the property, they always had like a dehumidifier in the basement. But he never thought much of it. He just thought, they were trying to keep the air clean. We know mold is not going to come in 2 days later unless it was there. Yeah. So what the seller did, they painted over the mold. They painted over it, and then actually when the machine was out, 2 days later, closing done, it just came right through the paint. Wow. And we were actually able to win on that. We got the seller to come in, do the mold remediation, change everything in the basement, and that was that. So those type of things happen. Those are real stories that can happen. And that's why, going back to inspection is so critical.
So important.
It's so critical. The cost is so minimal for what it can save you on. Correct. The mental alone, the headache. Yeah. Dealing with a first-time home buyer, imagine dealing with mold in your basement.
Getting the right inspectors is important.
Oh, it's very important.
And for us, as a team leader, if a buyer say they do not want the inspection, we want it in writing.
We want it in writing.
We want it in writing.
I don't blame you.
We offer you the inspection, and you chose not to. Even if you're a contractor yourself, I will still recommend that you do. One of the things that you said about that was like if you buy a pool in the winter, you may not know until July if it's good or not.
Exactly.
You could be like, oh, this pool's sinking. Well, it was covered.
Who would have known, right?
Who would have known?
Exactly. This is weird. This is a quick little point. Some of my buyers be wondering, they be asking me, like, why? I always tell them it's good to, like, look for a property in the wintertime or harsh weather. You can really know what the property is when it's under those harsh conditions. Yeah. And they'd be like, why wintertime? Like, that's the best time. I think you see what the house really worth and what it can withstand. Yeah. So that's what I be telling. That's a little tip for you guys out there.
Yeah, best time to do an inspection the day after a rainstorm.
Yeah, exactly.
If you get lucky enough and it's raining during your inspection, look up and say, thank you, God.
Well, I was in class one time and I learned this too. If it snows, and every house on the block has snow on it, and it's good. But the ones that don't have snow on it, it's because the heat in the house is leaving the house. So no insulation. So that house doesn't have. You want to look at the house.
I didn't think about that.
The house that still has snow on it, which means they're keeping the heat. But the heat that's leaving the house, that means that the house roof is just the heat leaving it. So that heat bill is probably crazy.
And you know what? What also just as important as a home inspection, the final walkthrough.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really our last chance to really notice something.
When do you recommend that? Because I go back and forth. Some people say like 48 hours before, and then I heard a story where someone did it just before.
Yeah.
And they went by and a tree had fell down the night before. Wow. And they said they caught it and they was like, okay. Yeah.
So I like to do it the morning of.
Okay.
Right? Which is why I like my closings to start at least 11:30, 12. Not because I don't want to wake up early, but because I want the walkthrough to go well. Okay. Or if there's an issue, I have enough time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right? Because we want to avoid adjourning the closing because there can be costs associated with that. But if we have to, we have to. Yeah. So we want to give our client that opportunity to go in there, and look at this property. I even asked them, look, if you want to bring the inspector in again,
Yeah, and some do.
pay them that extra and say, hey,
some
you
do
know,
it for actually- some do it. They
come
go
back
back.
with me just to do just to kind of, we're not doing another inspection, but just check the property.
Yeah.
Let me know if there's things that should walk out. It's important, and it's worth every penny. It's
Yeah.
worth every penny.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe you could do too. Like I always thought maybe the reason why they did it 48 hours to give attorneys time to, if there's something there to adjust. But if it's 2 or 3 hours before, let's give them time.
And
That's
the reason why I don't do the 40 hours, because I had an investor client, he tells me this story all the time. Every time I see him, he did a final walkthrough, 48 hours. Everything was good. Went to the closing. After the closing, went back to the property. There was a squatter in the property.
Oh.
So he said, Paul, never again will I do a final walkthrough days before. It has to be the day out. And I was like, you know what? I'm using that from now on. That's going to be the rule of thumb.
Yeah,
You never know.
Or you do too. You do 48 hours, then the day
Or do
before.
two. Yeah,
the day
that's
before,
too.
you go
Day before, go back there again, make sure
back
everything's in
it's
order.
the same day.
Yeah.
Make sure everything in order. Make sure everything is in order.
There's a lot of people out there, I'm not gonna say bad people, but people are not being honest nowadays.
Yeah.
You just gotta just check dot your dot. What is it? Dot your I's, cross
Dot
your
your I's,
T's?
cross your T's.
Yeah. Just gotta make sure you're doing what you have to do, because you don't want as a new home buyer or a new homeowner, you don't want no hiccups coming up or anything like that, because it's one of your biggest purchases in your life.
And it's a nerve-wracking transaction.
Yeah.
That's why I approach things step by step. I'm almost like holding the hand of the first-time home buyer, and they need that, because you got to think about it. A lot of them are the first one in their family to buy a
Right.
property, and there's so many new terms they're hearing, right? Appraisal contingency, mortgage contingency, origination point. This is not everyday language that people talk about, so it's a lot of new different things. So we want to make sure they are comfortable. Got to be comfortable with buying your property and try to just simplify it as much as we could.
One of the things I think is important from my experience is that if you can, get a local attorney. Don't get an attorney that you're doing business here. I've done a deal where in Rockland, for instance, we were closing White Plains, dealing White Plains. The attorney was in Rockland, so that attorney did not do a lot of co-ops. So the day of, the attorney never ordered a certificate. So now we had to put it out 30 days to get this.
At least 30, yeah.
What's more than 30 days? Actually, it was like 45 days.
Yeah.
You had to go order it, and then everybody cost everybody money. You had to get extension on the mortgage, all because 6 weeks ago he never ordered a certificate. Did not even know that you need one.
Yeah.
That you needed one because he hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
He hadn't done closings and things. You got to I tell people, get locals attorneys. If you have an attorney in Long Island and you're doing business in Westchester, unless that attorney had done business in Long Island a couple of times.
And experience is everything. With us, our firm is unique because I live in Westchester, been in my whole life, so I'm able to do Westchester, Rockland, Orange, Dutchess, all those areas. But our office is actually in Long Island, Great Neck, so we do the whole Long Island,
That's good.
all 5 boroughs. So we cover a nice vast chunk of New York, right? And it allows us to travel and just do those certain things. So logistically, it's not a challenge to us to go pretty much anywhere, to be honest.
Yeah.
We do closing in a good space.
I've heard it both ways. Which way is it done? Most attorneys get they check at commission check, whatever it is, at closing.
Yeah.
And beforehand.
At closing, typically at closing.
Typically
at closing.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you get attorney right on board. I think that's great. You get attorney right on board right from the beginning. And you got to have your team ready. Especially in this market now when things go quickly.
Absolutely.
You can't find a house and be like, I'm looking for an attorney now.
Yeah.
By the time you do that, that house is already gone.
People ask all the time, when should I have an attorney? I said, call me right away.
Right away.
I want to be involved early.
Right away.
Because I know you're going to have questions. Let me answer those questions. You're going to be doing the inspection. Let's get involved early so that way everything is just 1, 2, 3.
That's right.
Because time is of the essence, especially when your offer gets accepted. And the reason why this is important because when your offer gets accepted, yes, the seller said they're going to accept your offer, but there's still opportunities for other offers to come in.
That's a fact.
And the last thing you want is to lose opportunity on buying a house you love because of time wasted.
Yes.
So your inspector, your attorney, these numbers should already be in your phone.
Yeah.
So that when once offer is accepted, you're calling every one of them, getting them ready, and we can move fast.
Yep.
We want to move fast in the very beginning, get us in contract, and then we go through the process.
And I've seen offers where they'll say it's inspection within 48 hours or 24 hours and close it, accept the offer, contract within 3 hours, 3 days. So you don't have that time to be looking around for the right attorney.
Absolutely not.
You got it beforehand. It's very wicked. So
Cutthroat.
it's like you want that house, you better be.
Here we go. Here we go.
And again, it goes back to the agents, man. The agents have that contact, those connections, stuff like that. So definitely get a good agent. They should have a team on them already. Ready people for the phone call, people to cover do what they have to do to make sure the deal closes.
And then you have to. I remember we done deals with the contract went out that same day. I'll be like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
We don't play around. We don't
I was
play
like,
around.
oh, let's get this done. We got to get this done.
We understand the sense of urgency, and we know that the contract can't go out unless we prepare it.
Yeah.
So people are counting on us, and we take that very serious. So if you send me a deal sheet, it's going out same day.
Let's go.
It's going out same day. That's it. That's it.
Good.
Well,
Good.
Paul, thank you again, man. You definitely shed a light. You definitely educated me on a lot of different things.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad.
So how will the people get in touch with you? They want to get in touch with you.
Yeah, so we can be reached directly. I'm going to give everyone my direct phone number. It's 914-513-8606. If you're more, tech savvy on the computer side, you prefer emails. My email is going to be paul@jblaw-group.com. Like I said before, communication is everything to me. I want to be able to answer your questions. I'm available on the weekends as well, right? I don't go away on Friday, 5 o'clock, and come back Monday. I'm available, and anyone that I work with can attest to that. So feel free to reach out, and I look forward to working with everybody.
Yeah. Good. Good. Also, you'll find his information on the back on the roll, so you'll see his phone number and information if you want to get in touch with him. And you can always get in touch with us. Yep. I'm Cedric Smith.
And I'm Conrad, of course,
Yeah.
yeah. That's it. Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm. So today we have Paul, the attorney. He does business in Westchester and Rockland, and as well as
Long Island.
Long Island. We're excited because we've done business with him, and he's a good attorney who will to answer your questions. If you have additional questions, or if you want to see a different show, or something that you need to know about, you can also find us on YouTube at Now You Know. And
Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and share it.
Yep. I'm Cedric Smith again, and this
I'm
is
Conrad Henry.
right.
Now you know. Get to it.